everybody. Welcome to another Tuesday Lunch with Laura. I am Laura LaCursi, and I help virtual assistants build their businesses. Just want to welcome you here today. If you're new, I have been in this virtual assistant space for 23 years, 18 as a solo VA, and 5 as the owner of Elite Virtual Assistants, which is a VA agency. I also have put this Facebook group together. I have a website, elitevahub.com. We have a free membership area there that has a lot of free resources for you to download. We've got PDFs and worksheets and video trainings. All of our Facebook Lives that we do are in there categorized for you. And I also have an online course that helps VAs build their businesses called the VA School. You can find out more. It is open, and you can find out more at elitevahub.com/VA-school. So today what we're going to talk about is the 8 do's and don'ts when working with clients as a virtual assistant. And I've put this together in a lot of different ways over the years, and I thought this might be kind of maybe a fun little spin on it, because I'm going to throw some stories in there for you as well. And I have to say that working as a virtual assistant for so long, and then also owning an agency and seeing all of the different people and personalities that are out there, I've seen a thing or two. So I've seen and I've experienced it myself. I've, trust me, made many of my own mistakes, where this is where part of this list comes from as well, but also what I've seen. So, and I think it's helpful because I've seen it obviously not only from the side of the VA, but also from the client side. So I can kind of give you a little bit of insight on some of these, why you should and why you shouldn't do it. And one thing I just wanted to say is, being a virtual assistant was the best career move I ever could have made 23 years ago. I never thought that it was going to lead to this, to where I'm at today. But, I did it because I wanted a flexible schedule and I wanted to be home and be there for my kids and kind of work my schedule around work instead of the other way around. So, but sometimes we get a little caught up in that, and some people take that a little too freely and don't really understand that if you are trying to really create a business that, you want to make either a full-time income or, maybe you want to be the breadwinner of your family, you really have to instill the fact that it's a business, and you really have to have some structure and guidelines behind everything that you do. So that's what we're going to kind of jump into today. And if you guys have questions as we go along, just feel free to shout them out and I will answer them when I'm done. All right, so we're going to dive into these right now, and I'm just going to look at my notes so I don't miss anything. So number 1 do is to be clear and transparent with all of your clients. And this ranges from your availability to your skills and program knowledge, right? So, it's really important to let people know when you're available, what your work hours are, and what your area and skill level is of expertise. What you do not want to do is tell somebody that you can work anytime. Oh, I'm available whenever, because you think you're going to fit it in. But let me tell you, you're setting yourself up for failure if you say that to somebody, especially if you're only working, 3 hours a day, 2 or 3 times a week. You're really not available anytime. So if somebody goes to reach out to you on a Monday and you don't start work until Tuesday, there's going to be issues there. So be really upfront with people about your availability and the hours that you set for work hours and when you can, catch up on things. And then the other part of that is Do not say that you can do something if you know you can't. Or don't say that you're an expert in something if you know you're not, because you think you're going to Google it. And I just want to tell you a little story about that, because I did it. I did it one time, a long time ago. I told somebody that because I actually had built my own website, so I tried to do it for somebody else, but what they wanted was far more complicated than what I had ever done, and I found myself sinking in that position, right? So I had to come clean and just tell them, this is not the level that I'm at working with here, where I should have just been upfront in the beginning. So just make sure that you are upfront about what you're capable of doing. And if you develop that really good relationship with your client, most of the time, as long as you say, you know what, I don't know how to do that, or I haven't done that, or I've only dabbled in it, but I'd be willing to learn on my own time, most people are going to give you that opportunity, especially once you have that good relationship. But just be, upfront and forward about what your availability is and what you're capable of doing. Next, over-communicate. I cannot stress this enough. I feel like a broken record because I say it almost to every single person I ever talk to, whether it's a client or a virtual assistant, but you can never communicate too much unless somebody tells you to stop. The worst thing to ever do is to keep a client guessing, right? So they don't know really what's going on, where are you, what are you doing? And it's bad for you too, right? As a virtual assistant. So some of the don'ts that go along with this are do not assume. You know what they say about assuming? You make an ass out of you and me. So don't ever assume. If you have a question, always ask. It's better to ask than just to do something and then have to go back and redo it because it was wrong. Do not wait for an answer. This is one of my biggest pet peeves on both sides of the coin, and that is people not being willing to just pick up the phone for a really quick answer to something. If you're not getting a response from your client and you can't move forward until you have an answer, do not sit back and wait for them to get back to you and say, well, I emailed them, I haven't heard back, I'm just going to let this go. No, you cannot do that. You need to pick up the phone if they're not responding. And you know what? A lot of times that little seeing you call them is going to give them a jolt of, oh yeah, I need to get back to them. So just remember, they're busy. Sometimes you might fall off their radar for a little bit, but you've got to always, keep looking and keeping those lines of communication open to get the answers you need. And do not ever go MIA. I have seen this more times than I even thought I ever would in this industry. And it is virtual assistants going MIA. And sometimes it's for a day or two. And I've seen it happen in our agency for weeks at a time. People just fall off the grid. There's really no excuse for that. It just goes back to communication. Even if something tragic happens, it's a 30-second, or put somebody else in charge, right? Hey, I need you to reach out to these people and let them know that, I hurt myself, or, I have a family emergency, whatever it is, but you've got to be professional and keep yourself covered. So don't ever go MIA. If you're not going to be available or something comes up and you're going to be out of commission for a while, you've got to give your client a heads up. Okay, number 3, you always want to be proactive instead of being reactive, right? So you always want to be on the lookout for what is coming up, what's coming down the pike. Just don't be unprepared, right? Because that's what it all boils down to, is that you're scrambling at the last minute. You're always putting out fires because you're unprepared. So you want to make sure that you're planning out you and your client's time in advance and see what's coming up in the future so that you can be prepared for it. Number 4, make sure that you have a regular weekly check-in meeting. Now, understanding that this might not always be possible, but you want to make sure that from the first time that you onboard that client, that you set up a time that the two of you can get together every week and touch base. It doesn't have to be a 30-minute call, right? It can be a quick 5-minute check-in. But this is a great time for you guys to answer any questions, clear up anything that you need to clear up. And it also really helps with accountability. You don't want to work solely by way of email and text messages, because I'm sure, as you've seen, so much gets lost. I have personally myself lost business because things got mixed up in email chains, or my email. I have had issues with my email, actually just recently, where somehow a filter got added that I never put on there, and it was kicking all of my emails as read and into my all emails folder and not into my inbox. So I was missing, lots of emails every day. So you want to always make sure that you have some other form of check-in with your clients. And if you can do a video call, I would always recommend that, because since you're not with them physically in person, having that face-to-face interaction is priceless. But again, if you can even just do a phone call, make sure you do that every week. And when you do your video calls, watch what's in your background, right? You don't want to have a messy, unorganized background. Do not take it in your kitchen if your dishes are stacked behind you higher than your head, right? You do not want to be, and I have to tell you, I've seen this happen, okay? I have been on onboarding calls with VAs where they are sitting in bed and there's robes and clothes thrown all over the place. Don't do that. Really be aware of your surroundings. It's great that you can work from home. It's great that you can be in your pajamas, but your clients do not need to know that. They do not need to know that maybe you didn't get to the dishes today. Go to a room that at least has a blank wall behind it. Okay, next, be professional. Always, 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 okay? Even if, and this really goes back to distractions, but even if your client distinctly tells you, oh, I understand, I have kids, I worked from home, I get it, they might say they understand it, but they do not want to see or hear them when they are on a call with you. I mean, we have just had that happen recently again in our agency where, we had a client leave because they said, well, every time I talked to this person, they had their kid on their lap, or there was all of this commotion going on in the background. You don't want to do that. You want to, and I'm not saying, okay, life happens, right? You've got your weekly call, you schedule your weekly call at a time that you know is normally quiet, something happens, right? Babysitter doesn't show up, mom gets sick, something happens on the client's end and you need to schedule for another time. Let the client know, look, I can talk to you now, but my kids are going to be here, or, whatever is going on in your life. My dogs are going crazy and I can't let them out because it's a monsoon. Whatever it is. But just make sure that they know that ahead of time so that they're A, prepared, and B, if they want to reschedule for a time when they know that they're going to have your undivided attention, that they can do that. So that really goes along with being professional. And I mentioned this about the animals too, and I'm going to tell you a funny, well, not funny, but might be funny to you story. So we had a really big client come in a few years ago, and she had a lot of training that she had to do with this virtual assistant. And this VA had a 2-hour training session set up with this client, and was actually, instead of being in her office where it was quiet, she decided to do it in her kitchen, and her dog was outside the door and wanted to come in and sat there and barked for 2 straight hours during this training call. Well, needless to say, we lost the client because, A, that's completely unprofessional. She was sitting there yelling at her dog for 2 hours. So her attention was not on the training, right? And she kept asking questions that this person had already gone over because she was busy yelling at her dog. So, it's funny because sometimes that's the kind of life and atmosphere that we're in and we're used to it, but somebody on the other end is not going to understand that. So you want to make sure that you are always presenting that professional front, and make sure that you are paying attention to your client and giving them your undivided attention. Number 6, be organized, okay? And this goes for both you and your client. It's regardless of the services you offer. Being organized doesn't mean that you are an executive assistant. It could be with a creative person. It could be with any type of field or specialty that you're in, because you need to keep yourself organized and you need to sometimes help your clients be organized. You need to have those systems and processes in place so that you're not missing bits and pieces along the way. You always want to make it really easy for somebody to do business with you. And I know I say that a lot too, but it's true, because if somebody's really struggling to follow you or follow you, what you're doing or work with you in general, they are going to go and look elsewhere. So you want to make it as easy as possible for somebody to work with you and do business with you. Do not try to wing it with your clients. Don't try to wing it with your schedule. Don't try to wing it with the workload. You want to always make sure that you are following some type of process, even if it's a checklist. Maybe some of the work that you're doing is literally task oriented and you have to do a lot of repetitive tasks. Don't think you're going to remember everything. Make sure that you set up some kind of system and process to keep yourself organized. And that goes along with like a project management software too, so that you can keep everything in one place and you and your client are able to go in there, share your files. They can see the progress that's being made. You want to keep everything organized and streamlined. Number 7, admit to mistakes. It's not easy, but we're human and we all make mistakes. Your client's going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. It happens, right? But you've got to admit to them, because I've seen I literally have seen VAs actually blame a client for posting something wrong on social media because they copied and pasted it from an email that was sent to them. Well, you know what? If that's your job, is to do that, you need to read what's going in there first. So just admit, say, hey, you know what? I'm sorry, I missed that. They're going to appreciate that a lot more than just saying, well, I just copied and pasted what you did, because that's really speaking a lot for the type of work that you're doing for them. And do not charge them to fix your mistake. That is something that I have seen happen as well. Now, if it's your client is making you redo something because they changed direction or maybe they gave you a wrong direction, yes, charge them for that. But if it's your mistake, do not charge your client to fix it, okay? You've got to just admit that it happened, take the blame, and then move on and fix it. And then number 8 is enjoy your work, okay? You need to enjoy what you're doing, because this is the whole reason that you did this, right? You did this so that you could have that flexible schedule, maybe to get out of that job that you hated to do. Maybe it's so that you could travel. It doesn't matter what the reason is, but you did this for a reason, and you want to make sure that you enjoy what you're doing. So you don't want to take on work that you don't like or you don't like to do just because you want work, because it's going to show through. It's going to show through in your attitude. It's going to show through in your work. So you really want to make sure that you are doing what you like to do, and don't take on clients that you know from the very beginning are going to be difficult. And I can tell you, as an agency owner, to this day, I still do it without sometimes realizing it. So that is something you've got to be vigilant about. But I can promise you, because sometimes clients will, they might present themselves as, being easy to work with, but once you get into it, you can see that it's going to be like pulling teeth. Get out right away, because all you're going to do is you're going to be frustrated. You're not going to enjoy your work, what you're doing, and the client's going to get frustrated as well. So know who your ideal client is and make sure that those are the people that you're letting into your business. And don't discount your prices. Okay, do not, if you're working with somebody and something happens and they're like, well, I can't afford this anymore. I can only afford X amount an hour and you're more than that. Sorry, I've enjoyed working with you, but these are my prices. You're not a discount service, okay? So you want to make sure that you are confident in your pricing and you stick to your pricing. Even when we get into these low periods or these slumps, it happens. It happens to all of us. So, but you stick with you and your gut, and do not ever lower your prices, because then you're not going to enjoy what you're doing either, because you're going to feel like you're working like you're being underpaid, and that's not why you went into business. So literally after working with hundreds of clients and virtual assistants, these are some of the really key things. I mean, there's literally probably 30 more I could go through, but there's only so much time. So I really wanted to highlight some of the things that I've seen that I know make a big impact either for or against your business. Like any relationship, working with the client takes open communication, clear expectations, and having patience, right? So that you can create that successful relationship. And then once you have that, let those people start referring you out, because if you're following these and you're really rocking it, I'm telling you, you're going to have an amazing business because you're going to create a referral-based business, which is what we all want. So if you haven't joined our free membership area yet, please do so. We have all kinds, like I said, all kinds of free downloads, free trainings. All of our Facebook Lives are on there, elitevahub.com. I also have a free masterclass. It's the ultimate 5-step system to a wildly profitable virtual assistant business. You can find that at elitevahub.com/masterclass. Or if you are ready and you're building your business and you need help or you're just getting started, check out the VA School. Our online course is open for business. It's elitevahub.com/VA-school. And you'll be able to read more about it. Sign up if you're ready. If you have questions, please feel free to leave it in the comments, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. So thanks so much, guys. Have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week, and I'll see you back here next Tuesday. Take care.